Jessica Alstrom, spiritual teacher, medical intuitive, and quantum integration specialist, answers your spiritual questions and assists you through understanding your personal process while providing tools and techniques to move swiftly through the journey back to light.
Hello and welcome to the Transcendence Podcast. This is your host, Jessica Alstrom, and today I'm actually going to do a podcast about, it's not really about Orlando shooting. It's more about this idea in general as a collective consciousness. And normally I would not even give my attention to something like this because it contradicts my quantum focus and what I'm creating as far as my personal new earth. But, as a teacher and as an empath, I've been receiving all of your emails and your messages about my take on these type of shootings and these type of, tragedies that we are having as a collective population. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be controversial because I'm going to look at this particular situation and the other situations that have occurred, especially in our country, in regards to what the common belief is about these things. I'm going to look at it from a very different perspective. And, if you've been listening to my podcast up until now, Why We Suffer, Unplugging from the Matrix, Let Go or Be Dragged, you should have a pretty decent understanding that the game that's being played here on planet Earth is not what you think. And, if you're somewhat conscious, I'm hoping at this point in the game that you are not actually believing what the media says. So the media is a fear report. You're getting the fear report. And, if you've been watching Second Sundays since way back in the beginning, since I've been doing them, I've been teaching you guys, or at least transmitting information from a higher perspective about how the world is going to shift first. And how the world is going to shift first is in two ways. So the biggest way that we can change the matrix is through the education system. The second way that we can destroy the matrix is through gender. Okay? So let's look at the mass shootings in our country. They've been school-focused and gender-focused. Okay? And gender we can throw into that category of race, because gender and race is just basically a separation and segregation of color of skin or sexual preference, which means nothing in the idea of LOVE. So if the world is going to change first through gender and education, then wouldn't it be a smart move from the game makers that are creating the matrix to keep you enslaved and keep you afraid? Wouldn't it be a wonderful tactic for them to penetrate and try to teach you that we really are all against each other and that we're not safe? Okay, so sit with that for a minute, take a breath. The game makers are controlling the media. The media is controlled by the game makers. Okay, and the game makers dictate what they want to do to distract you away from your own heart. And the best way to distract yourself from your own heart is to make you afraid of your environment, to make you afraid that, what is going on the planet, that you have nothing that you can do to stop it. And it actually has kind of bothered me looking at Facebook and all of these really high conscious people saying, oh, those poor people in Orlando, and I'm sorry if your family member was one of them, but I'm going to go higher perspective. I'm going to go fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional teaching here, and I'm going to lose compassion for the stories. Because the thing is you're not getting the real story. So I have not been paying attention to the news because I don't have TV in that way. I don't watch media because it's the worst possible subliminal hypnotism that you've ever seen. There's actually frequency and code coming out of your TV, even when it is unplugged, to brainwash you. So I don't really participate in anything that's going to take my focus away from my life and my journey. But due to all of the emails of all of these loved ones that I have all around the country, I felt the need to go out of body and actually go in and find out what was really going on with this story and with this energy and with this manipulation. And what I actually found was that everything you guys think that was a terrorist move was actually completely set up by our own government. And it's a governmental move to create fear right before an election. Because if you create fear right before election, guess what? You're going to vote. And there has been less energy and frequency of people desiring to vote this particular election in history. And so the game makers needed to actually do something to stir you up. And the thing that it does is it opens up your heart space, and you feel compelled to go and vote for someone that you think is going to put an end to the tragedy that they themselves created to make it look like we are actually at war with each other when we're not. Take a breath. Okay? This is not a real story. Now, I'm not saying that real lives were not taken. But if you look from a higher perspective of the lives that were taken, these souls chose. See, you have to understand that death is always chosen before you come down here. Before you come down into the game, your moment of death is always chosen. And the reason why your death is chosen is for very significant reasons to help awaken others. You have a death experience that will basically set that pebble in motion to bring that tide all the way out and wake people up. So some people act as a catalyst using their own death experience to wake people up. Now, the game makers don't understand how evolved we are. They don't understand that we are coming together as a collective. And when they do these pathetic stories of, this person who actually went in and shot all of these people, what they're not saying is that a lot of this is staged and a lot of it is manipulated. And I'm not, again, saying that lives were not taken, but what I am saying is that you're not getting the real story of actually how it all went down, and that it was some random terrorist, because you know what? They can invent anything to scare you. And you can follow this pipeline down and you can say, wow, this guy had, 3 other situations where he couldn't have been trusted, and why did they give him a gun? Because the thing is they want to take away all your freedom and power. And if you can't carry a weapon because you can't be trusted, because you're not mentally well, or that you're a terrorist, it's like, okay, if think about it. Let's just get real logical here and think about it. If a terrorist was going to come, don't you think they would go after our government? Why are they going after our gays? Really? I mean, it's kind of pathetic. So the thing is our gay population is one of the most peaceful populations that we have. They're all about unconditional love without borders, okay? Pride, and the thing is it's all fear tactics to keep you enslaved. And if you feel like you need your government, then you will follow in the footsteps of what they keep providing. Because the thing is, as we wake up, they start getting really desperate. And I'm not going to say that I'm educated in what the stories of the media are spewing. What I'm saying is I am educated in the way that I actually went out of body and looked at this situation from a remote viewing perspective and saw what was really going on. And I'm sorry, it's your own government. It's your own government that is creating this situation to put you in fear so that you need them. Because we are getting to that place. We're moving into that frequency of where Iceland was in 2008, where they were starting to overthrow their own government, and the game makers are starting to feel that we are moving into a revolution of one. We are moving into a revolution of self. We are taking personal responsibility for our planet. We are taking personal responsibilities for our bodies, no matter what the doctors and pharmaceuticals or companies are saying. We are growing our own food. We are helping each other, and it's this last ploy for them to try to create fear through, basically keeping you afraid of your neighbor. And then thousands and thousands of people jump on Facebook with their unique, arrogant perspective of what they think happened based on what news program they watched. But unless you were actually there and witnessed it, then really you're unaccountable. You have no truth other than third-party perspective. That's why I didn't pop on the news and read about what was happening. I said, you know what? Enough of my beloveds have reached out to me asking me my perspective of this, so I'm going to go and do my, soul traveling to check this out. And it's what it's all been. It's what the cook situation was about, where the 22 kids were taken. And yes, all of those kids chose that perspective from a higher consciousness. And let me tell you why. Why would someone choose to be their life taken for this type of situation? Because what the game makers don't know is that whenever they do something really, like, negative, like this, it actually backfires. Because what does it do, people? It opens our heart chakras even more. We come together even more. We have empathy. We have sympathy. We move together to help and support. There's fundraisers now for these families. It's like, that's how we beat the game that they're trying to win. They say, you need us. See, look what's happening. Terrorists are right in our own country, and what we're saying is, wow, when, 50 people die, we, as a country, we open up our heart space and we go to rescue. We go in to heal. We go in to penetrate. It's the same thing that happened with 9/11. It's the same thing that's happened to every single situation on the planet that has appeared like just people against people. There are no people against people. There are consciousness beings of light against a matrix. That's it. It's just a game. And what I would hope is that you take this perspective, regardless of how controversial you think it is, and go higher and look down and say that everything that appears negative is always a shortcut. Because what this is going to do is this is going to open up more heart space. This is going to open up more awareness. This is going to heal more families. And even though some of them were lost through tragedy, they served a divine lesson for all of us, and we should be in absolute gratitude for any soul that has signed up to have their own life removed to teach us a glorious lesson that there are no boundaries between love. There is no war except for the ones that they keep regenerating to keep thinking that we're scared. And we're not. That's why I didn't even give any effort to this. And absolutely love all the souls that were involved in this story, because you know what? They are going to be the pioneers for us to wake up. So usually we have to lose something to gain something. And they just decided to, just like anybody else you've lost on the planet, has been a great teacher for you. Because what you're realizing is you're realizing what unconditional love in the moment actually means, because we have a tendency to take for granted the people that we love the most until they're lost. So look at the tremendous lessons that are coming out of this, and stop looking at it as we are not safe and that our planet is not safe. And if you understand and listen to any of my work, you understand that we are switching tracks. We are moving from a third dimensional collective into a fifth dimensional collective, and as that happens, chaos is going to happen, things are going to break down, fear is going to be triggered, and you've got big choices to make. Are you going to look at this as a positive, or are you going to look at it as a negative? Are you going to look at the good that's going to come out of this, or are you going to look at this as one more senseless tragedy in the country? Because they're going to keep doing this. As long as the fear thermometer rises, they're going to keep doing this. They're going to pick out someone who's maybe emotionally unstable. They're going to brainwash him, and they're going to tell him to go kill 50 people, and we're going to slap a terrorist name on them. And that's how it works, okay? And that's how the game is played. As soon as we rise up as a collective, they send us a message, no, please still be afraid. Let's talk about guns. Let's talk about gender. Let's talk about rights. Let's talk about, who's against us and what's against us. It's like, this is a round planet. There are no sides, okay? There are no genders and separation between souls. There is nothing separating us from our truth except fear. And if you buy into what the media is saying, then you are jumping onto a third dimensional track where you're going to be stuck in fear, and you're going to think that the planet's not safe. And that is absolutely not true. And it just means that we're winning. It just means that they're now pulling senseless little ridiculous ways to scare us out of their hat, and it's not working. It's not working. The world is too intelligent. Every time they try to do this, it backfires, because we move in as a collective to help and rescue and love. They want us to be afraid, but we're not. We're not afraid. So it's important that you keep your quantum focused on what the positive side of this is, what you've learned from this, gratitude for the souls involved to teach you such a wonderful lesson, and the strength that this is giving you, the appreciation for the family that's sitting next to you that you're in resentment for, the love that you have for this planet and this country, and for those who have even chosen bodies that have a different gender, because they are the pioneers to teach you that love exists without boundaries, exists without walls. And they have a very strong job to come here and say, I'm not female, I'm not male, I'm me. Just love me for me. And that is a very, very, very important job for anyone who has come to this planet at this time, to show us what unconditional love is. So just think about it. Think back over all of the things where I said, it's like education and gender. If we were really under a terrorist attack, don't you think they'd be taking out our presidencies? Don't you think they'd be taking out, some of the people? They wouldn't, because guess who's writing them a check to do these things? I mean, that's just, to me, simple. So I didn't want to make this a complicated situation. I just need everyone to get back into their hearts and realize that this is just a big story, and the more you tell it, the bigger it becomes. The more you focused on the solutions and what you can bring to the table as a result. Love the people in your family unconditionally that you're not giving attention to, and let go of any fear that you believe. Please, please, for the love of God, unplug your TVs and get out into nature. Because during this election, you're going to be triggered in all different ways to create fear, so that you go out and vote for the person that you think is going to protect you the most. And if you believe that there is anyone that can protect you outside of yourself, then you've got to do some work. You've got to get inside your workshop. You've got to close your eyes and go on the inside of yourself and get to know who you are again, because you are an unlimited being of light, and you should be scared of nothing. Death is an illusion, okay? It's a game. The Matrix is a game. The government is our opponents, okay? They are the families that run the planet and control the Matrix, are the ones who own the government. They own the money. They own the oil. They own the energy, and they own the food. But you have one thing that they don't have. You have an unconditional heart, and you have a workshop of imagination, that at any given moment you could go anywhere in the world with your mind and feel safe. You have a heart that you could open up and help someone in need. And that is something that the game will never have. And that's how we're going to win, is to go into appreciation for the souls that are showing you this amazing tragedy, to love yourself more and love your neighbors more, to help more, to be of service more, and to show appreciation for the fact that you are starting to wake up to the game, and that it isn't real. And I'm okay with haters' comments, because you know what? That's none of my business what people think of this particular podcast. This is my perspective from a fifth, sixth dimensional, looking down over collective consciousness and letting you know it is just a video game and you have control. Heart space, imagination. That's how you're going to go home back to love. That's how you're going to go home to creating your reality. If you buy into what the TV is saying, you're going to feel lost and scared. You start talking about this and telling this story energetically, you're going to make it bigger. So you have choices here. And if you've lost someone, okay, that has been in this process, I'm not belittling you. I'm saying, wow, you should have absolute so much appreciation for that loved one. Because you know what? They are the real indigos of the world that are here to not only walk as an example, but show us an example. And that's where my heart is with all of these souls that finally said, I'm done with this game, and I'm going to leave behind a wake of things for you to awaken based on the way that this story went down. But I'm just going to tell you that the beings that were lost, yes, that transcended back into light, which is probably a way better place than this Matrix game. The real story is knowing that you cannot trust what the TV says, because it is not accurate as far as what actually took place. And you need to get your mind out of the circumstances of what is, go into a higher level of awareness, and start working on loving yourself more and loving the ones around you more and being more of service. And you won't even be a vibrational match to this type of information, which means that you won't even be aware that it's happening, because you'll be creating a new earth where these type of things do not happen, okay? In the new earth, things do not happen like this. So which direction are you focusing on? The world that's falling apart right in front of your eyes, or the one that's being rebuilt? It's all where you look. It's all perspective. It's all within you. And if you're really, really triggered by this, I would look deep within you and find the reflection of this story that is alive and well within your own body. I appreciate you letting me vent, and food for thought for today.
Thank you for joining Jessica on this transcending episode. Email us directly at jessicaalstrom@gmail.com with your questions and personal challenges you would like addressed on the show. And join us on next week's podcast. You are not alone, and remember, your higher self speaks to you through people, places, circumstances, and events.